Hey y'all, welcome back to Babeinlibrary. It's your girl Lisa, and today we're going to film a book haul. Now, this book haul is going to comprise of all of the books that I have purchased within the first 3 months of 2024, which is quite a lot, I may add. I have purchased some of these books secondhand. I have purchased some of these books using a gift card and credits that I had before I canceled the service. So do not believe that I am rich and just spending dough. I strategically bought these based on whether or not I've read them and have interest in having them on my shelf, or I'm going to an event where I will see the author, so it brings some additional value. In this video, I'm going to separate them up as best as I can to tell you why I purchased them, what was my intrigue, and what I will be using them for. So without further ado, I'll get started, starting with books that I have read from. Now, I decided to pick up Nikki Payne's Pride and Protest and Sex, Lies, and Sensibilities. Now, I have read from this author, and I've actually read both. Sex, Lies, and Sensibilities is my favorite, but both of these are great if you want to read retellings of Jane Austen novels centering BIPOC characters. Pride and Protest, you have a Black woman and a Asian male protagonist, and in Sex, Lies, and Sensibility, you have a Black woman featuring a indigenous male main character. These romances are extremely important because, again, we want to see that representation, but we also like to see that Nikki Payne does not shy away from the hard topics. Both of these have a discussion of gentrification. It has a discussion related to stereotypes that we have of one another or unconscious bias, and being able to work through that and appreciate the person rather than the community that they are supporting or fighting for in these instances. The next author will be at Apolly Khan. Now, I read the first and the second in the series. I did decide to purchase the second, which is Psycho by Onley James. This is my favorite in the series so far. I've only read 2, but this one seems like it was made for me. You have, this is a male-male romance where it has a found family trope. In this, our main male character that is an FBI profiler falls in love with a serial killer. It has a little bit of magical realism and, them navigating their morals and the industries that they support. So I absolutely love and adore this, but I also wanted to make sure that I purchased Moonstruck, which is the third in the series. And actually, Moonstruck is said to be most people's favorite. Now, knowing that Psycho is my favorite, I'm coming in with a little bit of skepticism of whether or not this one will hit it out the park. But I want to believe you all in the fact that this is a situation where both of the main characters are serial killers. They have their meet cute over their next target, and they decide to work together. This author, next author, is one that you all know I stand, I ride for. I needed to have this series on my shelf because I had an art copy that, got me through, but I needed the physical representation of this book. And that is Elizabeth Stevens' Dark City Omega. Now, I am blessed and fortunate to actually find this copy, but also know that I am getting the Shadowlands Omega, which is the second installment. I have an physical art copy coming, so that I'm going to be collecting these like Pokemon. Elizabeth Stevens has done something that most authors cannot get me to do, which is enjoy an Omegaverse. This is her first attempt at doing a fantasy romance, at doing Omegaverse, and let me tell you, she knocked it out of the park. I stand for this woman because what she did in this book lets me know that I can like Omegaverse and it can be done right. It is a monogamous relationship where in this particular one, they are enemies. She knows that she is the prize, being the Omega. And if she decides to be with this berserker, she's going to do it her own way. And there is a lot of backstory and a lot of political intrigue, which is my bread and butter. So I need to have a copy of this so I could see and remind myself that Omegaverse can be for me, because Elizabeth did it well. Now, this next author does damn near everything well, in my personal opinion. I have not picked a book from her that I did not like. However, I will tell you this book that I'm about to show is probably controversial for a lot of people, and that's going to be Kennedy Ryan's This Could Be Us. Now, me personally, I ate it up. I was sick and on my deathbed, and I ate this one up like it was chicken noodle soup for my soul. This one typically is controversial in the fact that most people think that it is a woman's fiction, but I challenge you all to believe that it may be an unconventional romance. We are so accustomed to believing what we know is what happily ever after should look like, and Kennedy Ryan challenges that. This pretty much has everything that I could want in the fact that it is more mature characters. So you have characters that may be in their 40s that already have established relationships, that have been married before. And this shows you that life is messy and that your happiness and how you defined it is the only thing that matters. This is actually her first New York Best Time seller, and she ran it the day that she was in my city. So shout out to Kennedy Ryan for creating this and having this to be her debut for the New York Times bestseller, because I know she's going to hit it again. Now, this next author will be Ada Polycon, and I needed to make sure that I was ready, locked, and loaded to have discussion with her, and so I purchased 2 of her books. That's going to be Isabel Lucero's series, her Male editions. I will tell you that I've got Dysfunctional and I have Splintered. Both of these are 5 stars from me. They just fit me so well. This one is a sports romance. You have a hockey player that is getting into a relationship with an adult film star, and it is just cute and how they develop a relationship. They actually knew each other in high school and they were never running in the same circle, but as adults, they're on this island and they decide to explore one another's company. Whereas Dysfunctional feeds my dark and twisted soul, this one is a psychopath in a relationship with a sociopath. And let me tell you, there's blood and jealousy and you name it, it can be found in this book. So I am so excited to see Isabel, and I need her to sign these copies. So I need a physical representations on my shelf. And then rounding up the last books that I have actually read from, this is another dark romance that I stand for her. This is my gal, and that is Kenya Gorey Bell's Darling Nikki. I had a art copy of this, and this one is an age gap romance that has some secret history behind the two that manifests and shows up in different ways. This has some political intrigue. This is, I believe, the second or the third in the series, so you may want to read them in order. But being that Kenya knows that I love her down and that I'm going to be seeing her at Steamy Lit, I need to have this on my shelf. That takes care of all the books that I have physically read from. Now, I am going to talk about the books that I haven't read from. In preparation for Steamy Lit and APollyCon, I decided to purchase Rebel and Wild Rain from Beverly Jenkins. These are historical romances that were on sale at my local half-price books. These actually were on clearance, and I'm like, y'all tripping. This is Beverly Jenkins. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have it. Thank you. Give it to me. So I decided to pick these up. I'm not necessarily a fan of mass market paperbacks, but that is what those series are in now. I decided to pick up Killers and Monsters, which is mafia monster romance. And because I had the first one, I wanted to make sure that I continued on with the series. So I picked up this one. Now, the next author I thought was going to be at APollyCon. I think there was some confliction with her schedule versus the actual events. But I wanted to support anyway because I read the second in her Disney Dark Villains retelling series. And I found this one on sale, which is a Notre Dame retelling. Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's what it is. And this is Crossed by Emily McIntyre. I really enjoyed Scarred, and I figured, okay, this one was getting all of the hype. Like, this is supposed to be the darkest in the series, and it is the most recent. And because it was on sale, I was like, gimme. I'm very interested in this one because this is a priest romance, and I think I'm going to be in that bag soon. Now, continuing on with male romances, I know at APollyCon there's going to be 2 of my favorite male romance authors. And so I have a high desire to get back into the sports romance world, and that's going to be done with C.E. Ricky's Iced Out. This is a team, but enemies to lovers, rivals trope that there is superstition. If you know anything about sports players, they tend to have superstitions of what goes down and that they need to keep doing it for a winning streak. And this is said to be everyone's favorite hockey romance as of the last year or two. So I figured, let me jump on the bandwagon. I know that C.E. Ricky writes really good sports romance. And I like hockey. So let's buy it. Let's read it. Let's get it signed. Now, this next woman, she is controversial in the books that she writes, but sometimes they work for me, sometimes they don't. And I had high interest in reading this one, and that's Nyla K's Distorted. This is the first in her Penitentiary Boy series. And I know this is male. This is a correctional officer or a warden and a jailmate. And I believe that he's in there for white collar crime. And so the correctional officer is like, I'll protect you, but you got to do a favor for me. And that just, piques my interest. I'll be honest. So I decided to pick this one up, and we'll see if I can read that before the next month. In preparation for Steamy Let, I was like, okay, I've got this in audio. I've got this in digital copy. Why not get the physical copy? Because it was on sale and it's the original cover, and you don't find those often. I will tell you, if I find an original copy in the wild and Bloom has decided to repurchase it or package it, or Source Books or whoever, I'm going to get the original, and that is going to be Birthday Girl, and that is by Penelope Douglas. Now, Birthday Girl is supposed to be the ultra supreme creme de la creme, the original OG of age gap romance, and I still haven't read this. I've put this on my July, which is my birthday month, TBR for probably the last 3 years, and I am shamed. So I'm going to get to this at least by this July for sure, because Penn will be at Steamy Lit, and I don't have an excuse at this point. Now, one other big purchase grouping I have here is because there was a $5.99 fictional sale at the book outlet, and I picked up a stack. Like I said, we're having books on sale. Gimme. $5.99? Yes, please. The first I'm going to talk to you all about is AST Parker, Doesn't Fail. This is the second in Ashley Heron Blake's, small town sapphic romance series. Now, Astrid wasn't necessarily a favorite of mine. In the first book, I did read Delilah Green Doesn't Care. And I was like, I see that you're trying to have an arc redemption for this particular character, and I'm not sure if I'm buying it. But I did talk to Ashley at Steamy Lit last year, and she was like, hey, it's my favorite. It is truly a work of art. And I was like, I'm going to believe you. I bought it. We'll see. I'll come back to you as I read it and tell you what I think about it. But I'm trying to read more sapphic romances this year. And because I know Ashley Heron Blake does it really well, I decided to give Astrid a try. This next set of books, now I have 4 books that I bought during book outlet that was centered around young adults. I have heard these next 4 that I have are like the creme de la creme when it comes to young adult romances. And I'm going to give it a shot because some of these authors are authors that I have read from and some of them are not. Confessions of a Good Girl, Alleged Good Girl is one that 9 times out of 10, if you say, hey, have you read Julia Goffney? Someone's going to tell you, yeah, she's my favorite author. Like, I love her. Everything she does is perfection. But I heard this one is the best. This one is a preacher's kid who is in high school and trying to determine whether or not she is ready to take the leap and have sex with her boyfriend, whether she's being pressured, what the dynamics are, how she feels about her agency in making this decision. And I think it has some very important things that we need to make sure that our young adults are reading. So I want to read it first. And then if I can recommend it, I surely will, because we're banning books left and right. The next author that I have is Talia Hibbert. I believe this is her first or her debut, rather, into young adults. And I heard it is so sickeningly cute. This is highly suspicious and unfairly cute. This is set in high school where you have them going on a class trip. these two used to be friends and now they're either rivals or they're unfamiliar with each other. They go into the woods and they get reacquainted and are paired together. And it's talking about, what went wrong and whether or not they can build a romance. And I've heard everyone love this. Similarly, Rebecca Weatherspoon decided to step into YA and she has her good side. Again, you have a curvy Black female main character with an Asian male character. I want to see representation and different dynamics of what relationships look like. I believe this has to do with basketball. I'm not totally sure exactly what is at play here, but being that Rebecca Weatherspoon is always going to get a read from me, I figured why not pick it up during this sale. And lastly, related to YA, I decided to pick up Elizabeth Acevedo's Clap When You Land. I've heard nothing but good things about this one. This is a story about two girls who are actually sisters. Their father had two separate families that they never knew about one another. One is in New York, I believe, in the United States, and the other one is living in the island. And her father goes on a trip, and unfortunately, as he's on his way to visit his daughter in the Caribbean, his plane goes down and he is unexpectedly killed. And so her sister goes from New York to try to figure out where her father was going and to get more information. And she finds that he had a double life and that these two are connected and are sharing in their grief, experiencing the same men as they raised each one of them, but in different forms or different fashions. I've heard, like I said, nothing but great things. So I wanted to make sure that I had a copy myself. And then the final two books that I picked up from the book outlet, $5.99 fiction purchase, are adult books. So technically Yours, which is by Denise Williams. It's her latest release. I have read, I believe, everything that Denise Williams has put out. And I figured, why stop now? We actually met this couple early on, and this is a workplace romance, which is my jam, my bread and my butter. And then I have truly been in my historical fiction bag, and I like to read historical fiction from the context of women. And this one is a Woman of Endurance by Dama Llanos Figueroa. I want to say that this is Afro-Latino representation. It talks about a woman who has been in a form of enslavement, and she is used as a breeding mechanism. So she is used to have children for the slavers, and really how she decides to get her agency and to become her own woman. And then her relationship with knowing that she has children out there in the world. I've heard mixed reviews on this, but I truly want to give it my own spin. And I don't think a lot of people have read this one. So if I enjoy it, I will definitely be promoting it, because these are the stories that we need to read and need to see reflected in the true nature of our history that history books do not talk about. Trying to wrap this up as best as I possibly can. I recently decided to cancel my book of the month subscription, but before I did that, I wanted to make sure that I got as many books as I can using the credits. One of the first books that I purchased was Butcher and Blackbird. Everyone was talking about this. If they decide to come out with a second in the series with Book of the Month, I may pick it back up because I want to have a complete set, but there's no telling that Book of the Month is going to do that. So I decided to cancel just in preparation that they didn't do it. But Butcher and Blackbird is, again, very similar to some of the other books that I've mentioned today, such as Moonstruck and Dysfunctional. I believe this is two serial killers that are friends and decide to move into the relationship status. This is supposed to be extremely funny, have really good banter, and be about, how they partner with one another and how they, have their own skills, but make each other better. So I'm very interested in this to see how I feel about two serial killers in love. Now, this next author I have not read from, but I know that she will be a Polycon, and this is Norse Mythology. And so this is a fate of Inked in Blood. Now, this is a situation where they are enemies and they're not supposed to be together, but somehow their fates are intertwined. They are actually supposed to be set out to, I believe, kill each other, but in this they start to fall in love and they have to let destiny take its course. So I'm hoping that I will enjoy this. It's a little bit thick, so I'm not sure if there's an audiobook, but I will be reading Daniel Judson, and if I like this one, I will be bringing it with me to AutoCon to get it signed. As I just mentioned, I am very deep into historical fiction, specifically the 1920s era, and one of the books that Book of the Month had in February was The Mayor of Maxwell Street, and I cannot recall at the current moment what this is about. I know it has political intrigue. I think it's about a scandal that goes on in the town, and there's a little bit of amateur sleuthing. Do not quote me on that, but what I will say, it is set in the 1920s. It says America is burning, the fire of vice and virtue rages on in every shore, and it is set in Chicago. I recently read Wild Woman in the Blues, which also set in the 1920s in Chicago. And so I'm hoping that it gives me those similar vibes and I can see a common thread in my reading for the year. So The Mayor of Maxwell Street is definitely one that I'll be picking up here soon because I am still very much stuck in the 20s. And then my last set of books are either signed copies or special editions. I only have 3. The first one would be Truly by Karma Rhodes. This is a dark romance. I, again, want to make sure I state this one. I believe this one also may be enemies to lovers set in high school. This one has some heavy content warnings, but I do know most people have enjoyed and loved this one. So I want to go in a little bit blind. I did actually get a signed copy and it was fairly cheap on Pango Books. So I was like, okay, I will pick it up and see what I think. The next copy that I have is a special edition that is stunning, gorgeous, absolutely perfection, and that is Asia Monique's Sinful Vows. I still have it in its package because I do not want to damage it. This is a mafia romance, a black mafia romance, may I say. Asia Monique had this entire series, and I wish that I can get the series in a special edition. I believe this is the last chapters version. It's gorgeous, stunning. I do have an electronic copy, so I will not be breaking it out of its plastic until I feel I am prepared to properly display it. But I knew I wanted to have it on my shelves and facing out. All right, so I'm not gonna say y'all call me a lie because at the time I filmed this, it wasn't a lie. Like, I had picked up as all of the books that I was going to pick up. But then I went into my half-price bookstore and I saw not 1, not 2, but 3 special editions that I was like, I gotta have. Like, you're coming home with me. So this should be it. This should be the final video clip for my book haul for first quarter. The first one I couldn't pass up because it was on clearance, and that just meant that it was for me. That is going to be Royal Playboy by Nana Malone. This is a special edition. I think that was done by Lucy Egan. It is beautiful, and I was like, yeah, clearance. Don't worry about it. Someone misunderstood the assignment and did not treasure this, but don't worry, I will. I love Nana Malone. When I heard her speak at Steamy Lit, I was like, yeah, I'm going to support you every time I can. And this is one that I just had to have. Now, the next 2 books came out in a special edition of Dark and Quirky box. And I promise you, like, in my mind, this is the books that I thought I was going to get when I won their contest. But no matter, the book still found a way to my home. There was 4 and I only picked up 2. The other 2 were not in the store because I would have picked them up as well. But someone really fumbled the bag here. They let me get my hands on Painted Scars by Neva Altaj. This is the special edition. Look at the details of her back. And then you've got black sprayed edges. This is gorgeous. I actually have a electronic copy, so I don't think I'm going to be taking this out the pack because I don't want to get it messed up. And then, really, what the coup de grace, the Supreme Special Edition. I don't think that there's literally anything in my book collection that I'm going to cherish more than this. Like, the fact that someone took this to Half Price Books and didn't think twice about it, didn't have, like, the little, angel on their shoulder to say, hey, babe, you may not want to do this. Because when I tell you, I broke and ran to go pick this up. Damn near could have retore my ACL. That's how bad I was trying to get to this book. And now that I have it, it's never leaving. That is going to be Restore Me by J.L. Seekers. Like, y'all can't appreciate the magnitude of how stunning this is. These beautiful blue sprayed edges. Like, I'm not taking it out the pack. I already own the book, and I'm not the girly that has two versions of the copy. I take that back. I have two versions of A Kennedy Ryan, but that wasn't a me thing. I was gifted one, and I had already purchased one. But this one here, I willingly said, yeah, you're going to have my money. J.L. Seekers is going to get my money every single time. Every time. If there's another special edition that comes out, I'm going to buy it. So please don't do that to me. Just know that this is the prized possession, and someone really did me a solid. Like, big up to them. Karma is going to come back for them, and they're going to get all of the blessings, but they blessed me with allowing me to get my hands on this for $20. Y'all, that's the end of it. Roll the clip. Emojis, do me a favor and let me know what is a book that you recently purchased that you would haul in your next video if you were me, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.